Hello and welcome. This is a lesson on erosion and weathering. Get ready to learn. This is a statue. It's an old statue. You can see that it's in pretty tough shape. We're going to find out why. Did you know weathering breaks rocks into smaller pieces? Always goes from big to small. The rocks break into pieces sometimes when water freezes into ice. Acid rain changes rocks chemically. And erosion is different than weathering. Erosion is the movement of the material. So weathering breaks it down and erosion is moving it away. Water, wind, and gravity, they're the causes of erosion. Now, why is this important? Well, weathering and erosion change our environment. Rivers change their course due to the buildup and deposition of material. Material is deposited. This used to be a straight stream, but over the years, it has changed its course because of weathering and erosion. What's important to know about erosion and weathering? Well, weathering is the wearing away by exposure to weather, hence the name, weathering. Way to remember that, the W in weather is the W in wear. Wear it away. Now, erosion is the movement of the materials. All this, you can see, used to be up there. And the movement of it, not the cause, but the movement of it is erosion. The way to remember it, it rode away. So you have the W in weather, W in wear. Erosion, it rode away. Good way to remember it. Well, the difference between them. Now, weathering breaks down everything. Boulders, these big things, into clay. Tiny, tiny, tiny pieces. Now we have chemical weathering too. Chemical weathering makes new materials. This is an iron chain. The water in the air combined with the oxygen in the air and the iron to make something new. It's called iron oxide or rust. It is dissolved into the iron. The water gets in and combines with the iron and the oxygen and forms something new. It's not the same. And then we have acid rain. We can chemically weather something by leaving it out in the rain. The rain picks up some materials in the air that are dissolved in it. And it makes it slightly acid. And now it's not going to burn your skin off. But it's slightly acid. And it reacts with materials and weathers them. Now, we have mechanical weathering too. So you have chemicals making up new things. Then you have mechanical weathering. Rocks rubbing up against each other. Think sandpaper. And these are caused by wind on rocks. And wind carries sand and weathers it. We have ice wedging. Here's what happens. Water seeps into cracks and fractures cracks in rocks. Now, when water freezes, it expands maybe 10%. That's why ice floats. It's less dense. So when the water freezes, it expands 9% in volume, which wedges apart the rock. So that's how the ancients used to split up large boulders. They would pound rods into it, drill holes, fill the holes with water, and overnight they would freeze and break the rock. And then with repeated freeze-thaw cycles, rock breaks into pieces. So the water gets in the cracks, it freezes and expands. Now, where do you see this? It breaks rocks into smaller pieces and creates potholes in the streets. That's why in the springtime there's so many potholes. Water gets in, freezes, and breaks up the surface. Here we go. Remember I talked about that deposition part, the depositing? Well, water gets into caves, it goes through the ground, gets into the caves, and it dissolves limestone as it's going through the ground. When it gets to a cavity or a hole in the ground, it deposits, or it leaves a little bit behind on the roof of the cavity. And you can see little drips coming down. If you've ever been in a cave, you've probably got rained on, or it felt like rain. What it was water coming down through the rock and leaving some material behind and then dripping off. Now, the way to remember is stalactite is on the top. Remember T for top. Now, when this drips onto the floor, it builds up. These are stalagmites. The minerals that are left in the drips from the stalactites they fall to the floor and they leave behind some minerals. So you got stalactites and stalagmites. These build up over time, as do the stalactites. It takes a long time though. Now, how do you remember this? T for top in the stalactites. Stalagmites have an M, and remember, that's where the mice are, on the ground. Easy way to remember. Now, why is this important? Weathering and erosion. Well, weathering and erosion change our environment. And anytime something changes our environment, it's important to know about it. Rivers change their course due to buildup and deposition of material. As this river runs, it gets faster out here and then slower in here. And you can see it's got new material here and it's taking away material from here. So rivers change their course. And the more we know about that, the better we can plan. Erosion and weathering. Hope you've learned something.